Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchtime Series with me, Kevin Britz, leading the charge with insights, information, and ultimately effective results. Joining me in today's marketing leadership segment, marketing communications expert and co-host Craig Pagely. How are you doing, Craig?
Kevin, I'm great, thanks. Yeah, good to be chatting, and good to have had a great catch-up session with you yesterday when we met with our prospective partners in the planning for our entrepreneur-focused TV series, which hopefully will be in the making soon.
Yes, we're almost executive producers, Craig. Well, yeah.
I had a long chat to some of the media industry afterwards yesterday, just getting a sense of the best approach and the sponsorship approaches and things like that as well. And I must admit, two individuals you lent in and really took note of the conversation. So it was great.
Yeah, and I mean, like even from the TV production side, they've also confirmed that this kind of concept isn't out there yet, right now. So I'm excited. Yes. There's versions of it, but not this version.
Yeah, so, correct. Yes, and this is a nice combination of some of the stuff that's happening out there. So hopefully we just can take the proposition a step beyond.
And also, invariably serving a purpose, serving our purpose,
yes.
And what we stand for. So
the why, absolutely.
It's all, a culmination that's going to be in TV format. So I love it. Craig, so as we start today, what are the reminders from points we can share with the listeners from last week?
Yeah, Kevin, as a reminder, last week we reviewed some of the key marketing trends that are going to impact brands in 2025, and the article is titled Digital Marketing Trends for 2025, Key Insights from Technology for Marketing. The article was published in the Insights section of duster.com, and the article covered 5 key digital marketing trends for 2025, these being listed as Trend 1, from the what to the why. Trend 2, building trust and personalization at scale. Trend 3, simplifying strategies for better results. Trend 4, bridging the AI skills gap. Trend 5, the ethical use of data in personalization. And Kevin, the closing paragraph stated that as we move towards 2025, digital marketing will continue to be shaped by AI, data, and personalization. However, the fundamentals of authenticity, trust, and community building will remain just as important. For brands, the challenge lies in balancing technology with that human touch, using AI to support and not replace genuine connections.
Yeah, a fascinating conversation we had, guys. And if you want to check that out, go to the Lunchtime Series on all your major podcast channels. Check it out, the digital marketing trends for 2025. Craig, but thanks for the summary of that. What are we going to be discussing today?
Yeah, Kevin, when reviewing content for last week's conversation, or at least last week's show, I came across a number of articles that cover trends for 2025. And as I mentioned then, I was quite surprised at how many there are already. Many of these focused, however, on digital trends, but I did find a few that covered a broader range of topics and trends, all of them very relevant to the world of branding, marketing, and comms. So today, I decided to look at some trends on a topic we haven't really covered in detail in any of our shows before, this being the discipline of PR, Kevin. I came across an article on PRLab.com titled PR Trends 2025, the hottest public relations trends. The article was written by Mateusz Radzewicz, who's the CEO of PRLab, and was published as recently as 26th of September this year. Kevin, PRLab is a global PR firm that specializes in the B2B business space. They position themselves as a non-traditional PR agency that effectively walks the talk with no fluff guarantee and a results-driven PR model that never fails to deliver.
I mean, and I think, that's what's going to be useful about leading off last week's conversation.
Yes.
Because and I'm glad that we're touching on this, because a lot of people don't understand the point of public relations and how to do that specifically. So interesting to find out more.
Yeah, Kevin, I'm glad you mentioned that. And as I usually try to do when we bring sort of different topics in, I want to first set some context context to the definitions of the topic. So firstly, according to Investopedia, public relations, or PR, is the set of techniques and strategies related to managing how information about an individual or company is disseminated to the public, and especially the media. According to good old wikipedia.com, public relations is the practice of managing and disseminating information from an individual or an organization, such as a business, government agency, or a non-profit organization, to the public in the order to influence their perception. So important to understand that particular last piece. And finally, according to PRSA, which is the Public Relations Society of America, public relations is a strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between organizations and their publics. And that for me is sort of more of the positive approach, and very much in line of where traditional PR is as we understand it.
Yeah, Craig, and if it's done well, I look at really successful people that use PR companies, and Taylor Swift, I don't know what her PR company's name is, or she has one woman working for her, and Taylor Swift is her only client.
Oh, wow.
But when you look at, the impact that Taylor Swift has had on her own audience, how her audience is perceived, if you watch some of the background footage on some of the stuff that they've shared on interviews, you really understand how the impact of what PR can potentially be and do and say can have on an audience. So it's quite fascinating when you hear it from that context.
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin.
Craig, so with those definitions in place, what are some of the key trends in the article that's listed?
Yeah, so Kevin, as noted, the article covers 30 public relations trends, and we're not going to get through all of those in the show. So I'm just going to pick up on a few that really stood out, for me. And interestingly, there's a direct correlation to the themes, the 5 themes that came out of the digital trends as well. So interesting to see how headline topics, whilst there may be some difference in the actual content supporting them, the statements of the trends and themes seem to be quite similar moving into the PR space. Starting with trend 1, which is a more humanized approach. Here the article notes that this transformation focuses on the human experiences, Kevin, and a more humanized approach is a trend that's being practiced more and more frequently. And definitely this is one of those spaces where PR can actually grow and prosper. Audiences want more of that authentic interaction and engagement with brands, and this two-way communication that some platforms offer is definitely perfect for eliciting those responses, and this obviously can lead to much more effective PR campaigning. It appears to use a bit of humor and empathy to make the most of this trend, as it will allow public relations to have that tangible impact and deliver more of that authenticity on target audiences, Kevin. Trend 2 is the segue straight into authenticity, and it's a term we've come across a lot in the past few weeks. And here the article notes that authenticity is the key metric for brand success and key industry trend. Here, PR specialists must ensure that brands have an authentic voice and a genuine belief in what they stand for. And Kevin, we all know that if a brand doesn't adhere to that level of consistency, and when it does slip up, audiences notice immediately, and the credibility of the brand is also immediately impacted. So while technology is always effective in finding out more about the specific target audience, PR experts really need to ensure that the human connection remains. And to this extent, the way that the brands personalize their messages and content in 2025 is essential in being more authentic. Audiences are more critical and suspicious of information, definitely on the back of fake news and misinformation. Therefore, brands really need to go that extra mile to prove their authenticity.
Craig, what I do find interesting about the authenticity conversation is how forgiving audiences are when they can see the true, authentic person behind the content. And I've watched. I watch a lot of reels and TikToks and social media, and a lot of the time, with the brain of because I create content, what is the content you're creating? And that authenticity, people are just looking for just people on the other side of their content, just being really authentic to who they are and how they do what they do. So, it's becoming more relevant. And I think it might be the AI conversation that's kind of pushing the agenda, and people are going, well, we don't know how authentic that can be or is.
Yeah.
How do we bring it back to just humanize the information we're looking at? So there's a strange psychology behind it, which I haven't figured out yet.
When you do, let's chat about it. Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah. The next two trends are really good trends. Trend 3 is absolutely something we expected, and trend 4 is a validation of what everybody knows. But let me jump into those. So trend 3 is that social media growth, except for Facebook. And I say we expect this because we are seeing a decline in use of Facebook. So while not unexpected, it's worth noting that Facebook is being used less and less, Kevin, especially by Gen Z as they continue to move to platforms like Instagram and TikTok. This trend has resulted in Facebook really needing to step up the game and implementing similar features to its competitors, such as the short form video content like stories and reels. And this is really to appeal back to the Gen Z base. The article notes here that while its general user base grows, thanks in part to access to developing markets and its integration with other platforms like WhatsApp, one trend to look out for in 2025 may be the declining use of Facebook in public relations and social media marketing, even if it's still higher than competitors, but this still would be a significant change from its previous position. The likes of Twitter, LinkedIn, and TikTok definitely remain more important in 2025, Kevin, as these platforms are more valuable for showcasing, take note, thought leadership and building relationships with both the media and customers. And these platforms are hopefully bringing more of that authenticity to play. So moving on from the thought leadership aspect, it's straight into trend 4, which is LinkedIn thought leadership. And the article notes that with more than 700 million users from around the globe, LinkedIn Pro allows organizations and individuals to actually demonstrate their knowledge and capability to a broader audience. And it's also a great place to showcase your thought leadership capability, as audiences are constantly looking for expertise and experience on various topics. LinkedIn is definitely an ideal way to establish an effective online presence, offering the chance to publish articles, start up discussions among your connections and peer group and network with others, and share insights, all while creating a strong personal brand as you do so. In 2025, LinkedIn will continue to be a powerful tool for individuals and businesses looking out to position themselves as industry leaders, Kevin.
Yeah, Craig, when you look at all the social media options that are out there, I don't know. I mean, obviously there's enough money behind it. So Facebook still has a large advertising position it holds for advertising and marketing brands. But most people under the age of 25 don't use Facebook, so I don't know any, person under the age of 25 that does.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see. It will be interesting to see how Facebook even heads into the future, and the other thing is people are catching on to the trend that we don't like our data just being shared. So
yes.
And there's an element of distrust that comes with Facebook and anything linked to Meta at the moment. They are leaning into the AI capabilities, which is interesting. But again, the AI remembers everything you're looking at and watching and asking and learning about what you're doing. So the AI capabilities of because they've got like new AI glasses that they're using to. So it just, I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see how, it sort of evolves and where people lean towards. And how much authenticity actually plays into what platforms people use.
And Kevin, the whole issue of AI again around moderation, the importance of moderation, and ensuring that it's used in a very controlled and managed way, and that you're not breaking any of the PAPI rules around the world as well.
Yeah.
So, but again, the whole thing about authenticity leads to this conversation about personalization and connections with brands. So Trend 7 is more personal connections with brands. And again, we know that customers have high expectations of brands, whether connecting customers to the brands or connecting people from different perspectives. Customers expect brands and leaders to act as connectors. And I really like that particular proposition. Here, the article takes a look at how brands actually connect with customers, or at least consumers, and it notes that trust is important and an alignment with brand values is essential. To this extent, real and transparent communications is critical for maintaining that credibility and the long-term relationship with stakeholders, both internal and external, internal being with your own staff and employees, and external obviously being with the consumers that you serve. In PR strategies for 2025, storytelling will exist to create a compelling narrative intertwined with candid discussions about organizational challenges. Trend 8 is simplified brand messaging. And Kevin, here we note that, to stay competitive in 2025, brands really have to simplify their copy and messaging, make it short and punchy. Messages must be concise, they must be catchy, and again, the strong word, authentic. Focus on why your client is important. Short messages translate better on social media. A short attention grabbing subject line is definitely best for pitching in your call to actions, along with images, compelling images, and short videos that convey the brand's message. The tip here is to keep messaging simple. It'll be easier for brands to stand out from their competitors if they differentiate themselves and focus effectively on their target audience. I think it's something that we constantly have to be aware of. And Trend 9 is the rise of Deepfake AI. Kevin, here the article notes that as AI is easily accessible and distributed, people are unsure what or who to believe. This is exacerbated by the rise in deepfakes in AI, muddling what was already a fragile social media landscape. In all honesty, it's definitely going to continue to get even darker, Kevin, with malicious actors quickly putting companies or executives on the back foot by repurposing speeches into a false premise and narrative, leading to false narratives, exposing them to reputational harm, and causing PR teams to effectively scramble to course correct. The tip here is that PR teams need to be proactive in media monitoring and crisis responses. Similar efforts need to be made towards earning public trust through media literacy campaigns and to diminish the impact of AI-driven disinformation.
Well, I just on that point, Craig, around the deepfake AI, just this week, Google has launched its AI podcasting capabilities, where you can have two AIs creating a podcast that sound like two humans having a conversation. And you it just sounds like two people chatting. So it's literally, getting to the point where, I mean, it's on the news now, where, Google has now introduced this AI podcast ability that it now has. And you can literally give it information and say, speak about this topic, create a podcast for me. And I think that's where, again, it ties back into the authenticity, because, eventually we're going to go ask, so am I listening to a robot or am I listening to a human? And there has to be some mechanism in place where we can go, guys, I've signed a pledge that I, pledge to be a human speaking to people and not be a AI, because this is not a deep fake, and this is really me.
It really leads to another important conversation, in that if you're taking advice from a fictitious representation, and you act on that advice, and the advice is wrong, and you try and have some kind of recourse to understanding why that advice was wrong. There's no recourse to fictitious information being spewed out there.
Yeah, because who do you blame?
Exactly. Well, don't blame yourself for not being effective in evaluating all aspects of where that advice came from and who is actually delivering it. So Kevin, trend 18, a really important trend for me, CEO activism. And here the article notes that CEO activism is an increasing phenomenon where senior business leaders speak publicly about social issues that are not necessarily directly connected to the company's core operations, but to the wider ESG, environmental, social, and governance issues. And that the expectations here are that consumers and employees are waiting and yeah, in anticipation that CEOs actually take the step into this particular realm and not just stay in their box and in their office relative to business speak. These are broader issues that affect every single human being on the planet, and it's important to know that business leaders actually want to positively impact on the world. And why not, as they are the ones with influence, and they definitely have audiences that grab their attention, and they're well positioned to drive important conversations in this regard, such as those around climate change and news affecting the industry, and general news cycles like the potential war that we're going to be facing in the Middle East in the next few days.
Yeah, Craig, I think and it's probably not our generation that are even remotely interested in activism, but I think in the upcoming ranks, and the younger the leaders of the world are, the more they are actively going to be involved in the important impacts of environmental, social, and governance issues, because currently, as it stands, and that's why I have such a strong opinion about Kamala Harris. Like, we need different representation in the world of what leadership could look like, and and she's the perfect example of what it could look like. And she might not be perfect, and she might get a lot of it wrong. But factually, in the last 100 years, we need change, because clearly whoever's running the show is getting it wrong severely. And if we look at the Middle East, if we look at just the narratives and the basis on what people are going on and why there's war, and all the background stories from all of it is predominantly run by men. And you kind of go, well, we need different leadership in the world. So yeah, I'm all for people putting their hands up and being different, and not being scared to be different. I'm looking forward to someone doing that.
And I think perfect example, whether you believe in what has necessarily been said or distributed, but CEO Elon Musk stepping in and being an activist in many instances.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kevin, trend 19 is measuring impact, also, and something that's really important for any aspects of marketing communications these days. Digital PR focuses on SEO and visibility, which means that creativity really has to be understood and crafted effectively. Metrics such as engagement, impressions, and reach are easily accessible with digital PR. And Kevin, you mentioned new tools around Facebook. So you look at Facebook Business Suite, Sprite Social, even Hootsuite. These are all there to track digital PR success, and they allow you to very quickly get to understand the effectiveness of any messaging and campaigning out there. PR content ROI has historically been very challenging to quantify. Outlets can provide data such as unique visitors or ad impressions, but that does not give brands a complete picture they need. And here the objective of PR is to actually improve brand perception, convince clients to purchase, and increase loyalty, among other metrics. And it's definitely becoming easier thanks to PR analytics tools. And with all the data efforts around us, it's important to know what to measure at the end of the day. Trend 20 is business ethics and social responsibility, ties in nicely to the CEO activism piece. The article notes that over the past few years, there's been an increased focus on the role of ethics in business practices. In the era marked by increasing consumer skepticism and demands for ethics in business, authenticity and transparency will remain indispensable to the effectiveness of PR. What we note here is that data supports the notion that customers believe companies need a strong social conscience, while many believe companies need to do more. And while consumers demand that companies actually do more, then they talk about social causes and donate money, they also expect them to act on what they're saying. They expect them to embody it. So it needs to become embedded in the culture of the organization. And the tip here for 2025 is that public relations needs to make sure all communications, copy, and the various pitch angles and call to actions are socially aware. Kevin, the final trend to cover for today is trend 21, which was a decline in trust. And this trend opens with the statement that in today's polarized world, trust in news media is low and declining even further. Just over a fifth of audience members get their news from actual news websites. News is everywhere and is published in many quarters, and it'll be about who people trust and what they believe in. And it's only 20% of members are actually turning to news websites to find news bulletins. And part of the reason for the decline is obviously trust on the back of AI generated fake news. And that has led to this entire generation of doubt, deep doubt. And the reality for PR professionals here is they need to manage this sort of general decline in trust by the general public and traditional institutions. And this is really, unfortunately, being replaced by peer influence. And on the back of that, utilizing a lot of the negative misinformation. People can follow those who they like and trust, regardless of the merits of the view and the authenticity and effectiveness of the messages being delivered, Kevin. So in an era of information overload, the speed at which information is received will also be a crucial factor in gaining trust.
Well, Craig, I think what's interesting about trust is we've noted that in our own political parties' actions and in this country. We look at political parties abroad. There's a hefty narrative of distrust that we've experienced throughout the history of the world's sort of leading us into, and I think with the likes of TikTok and with the likes of Reels and things that where people have access to immediate information, yes, there is a lot of narrative that could be skewed to a large degree, and adding to the AI component of that. But what we're now starting to realize as humans is you can't simply just switch on the news because it's the BBC and take it for what the BBC wants to showcase. They it's so very biased. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But Kevin, if we look at the trends that I've just focused on today, and we work backwards from this trend 21 decline in trust, business ethics and social responsibility is part and parcel of causing the decline in trust, because some organizations are just not delivering and living up to those values. Some ineffective measurement of impact. Positivity of CEO activism hopefully is bringing some positivity to the trust factor, but then definitely trend 9, deepfake AI. So you can see how a lot of these are sort of all stacking up to this critical aspect of a decline in trust, Kevin.
And how interesting, Craig, like I don't want to be the obvious human behavior person here, but how interesting that the one thing that is one of the biggest concerns that we're dealing with right now is trust, right? It's the thing, that the human thing that we're now struggling with, even when we are looking at content and how content is shared and showcased,
and even how it's created.
Right? So it's really interesting to see that it all points back to a human component,
Yes.
And not an artificial one, right?
Yes.
So, Craig, as we end the show today, what are the key takeaway points that you want to share with listeners?
Yeah, Kevin. So the key takeaway point for today, it's really just worth iterating that staying on top of industry trends is part of a PR specialist's job. As the issues that mattered to consumers 2, 3, 4 years ago definitely look very different today. It's also important to understand how specific tactics and strategies are resonating with different audience segments at different times. as PR helps the image of your brands in the minds of consumers. And the final statement that came out of this article is that, like any industry, PR trends are influenced at a minimum by employee expectations, technology, and consumer preferences. And as these change, your PR strategies must adapt alongside the change as well.
Love it. Guys, so that's PR Trends 2025, the hottest public relation trends happening currently. And it's been an interesting unpacking for where this is heading, Craig. The quote that I'm looking at today is around the future. It's from, I don't know how I'm going to say this name, but it's a Danish philosopher, Søren Kierkegaard. But he said that life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards, right? And you think of it in that context, you go, that's exactly the thing, right? We can understand from what we've learned, but we need to live it better forwards, right? And we need to take the learnings with us and don't get stuck in the future.
Yes, very much so.
Fantastic, Craig. So in the next week, we'll be unpacking more around some of the trends happening in the world, right?
Correct. Yes. I've gained access to a really interesting a media trends document from Dentsu Group. So we're going to be picking up on some of that. And I wanted to see if I can get one of the local Dentsu strategy directors to actually join us in the conversation on that.
Brilliant. Absolutely nice. Please remember to like, share, and tune into Lunchtime Series every week, Wednesday and Thursday. For more from myself and Craig, have a fantastic week. Craig, and I'll chat to you soon.
Yeah, great week ahead. Thanks, Kevin.
Cheers for now. Bye.
Bye.